That was brutal. No way around it. That one was another tough game for the Kraken there. Another home loss, another one where the score is 5-1. Another one where it was just tough. It was just a tough game to watch, right? Like I don't know. I'm struggling on this one. We had lots of positives coming into the game, lots of positives coming from the morning, right? Shane Wright was going to play. Grubauer's back in. We were really, everything seemed good, and then that game happened. Kraken just weren't able to really get things going offensively. Shane Wright only played like a handful of minutes. I don't. Let me see what the final number is, just because I'm sure I'll need to repeat it several times throughout this post game live. This unfortunate ECH therapy session that we're all going to have. 6 minutes 50 seconds for Shane Wright in that one. I don't know. Grubauer got kind of hung out to dry. Like, it was another one where I felt like the goaltending hung in there and was doing well, and then just things could not get done. Like, it was a really rough one. The 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 wheels just fell off. There's just no other way around it, right? Like, it happened again. But thank you everybody for joining us here on ECH Post Game Live, brought to you by Queen Anne Beer Hall. Yeah, I guess let's just get into the comment section here, because I don't there's not really too much I can break down. I will say this though before I get to comments really quick. I'm really liking having Eddie Olczyk on these broadcasts. Almost every time, without fail, if I see something and I say something out loud to Afra as we're sitting there watching that game, the moment there's a stoppage or a break in Forsland's cadence, Eddie's bringing up what I saw, and it's awesome. He's got the ability to use the telestrator and everything to show off exactly what it all is. So really enjoying having Eddie as part of the broadcast. I think he's a really good educator about the game, and really good at make the game a little bit more enjoyable, even on nights like tonight, where there isn't a ton of stuff to really look forward to as Kraken fans, right? So just wanted to get that one out there as we start looking at the comments. Alex, could kick off with you. I think I've seen all I need to from Hackstall on multiple fronts. I think that's probably going to be a popular sentiment that we're going to see again today in this post-game live, and on Twitter through tomorrow and all that stuff. Again, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, this is only your second regulation loss. Yes, you're 0-2 at home now, but it was also against a good team. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right to totally jump on the, fire Hackstall thing, or really to be that critical towards really one area, right? Because there's kind of issues all the way around. Grubauer kind of lets in a first easy one, but also the defense wasn't really there for him. Kraken struggled again 5-on-5, just kind of generating chances until it was later in the game. You got to get that going, especially, also you get one power play goal tonight, but you had two early power plays. The Kraken could have really kind of set the tone of this game in that first period if they look better on those power plays. If they don't take about 7 minutes to get their first shot on goal in this one. So I don't know, and that's something that doesn't totally feel like coaching to me. That's more of just a players not getting it done out there on the ice kind of thing. So I don't know. I understand where everybody who's going to be saying that is coming from, but I'm not ready to jump on it yet. This is from Tom. Dylan, when does the Bedard prospect video come out? It's going to be out for patrons, because patrons get to see all the scouting videos a month early. Of course, link to the Patreon in the description below if you're on YouTube. It'll come out. I was planning on December for that one. So if you're a patron, December. If you're not, January. But yes, I'm looking forward to getting back to doing the scouting videos. Just have to wait for, I guess in the case of Bedard, there's lots of video, but I was just waiting to get some video stacked up, some tape I could actually watch and scout these guys on. So it's going to be starting a month earlier than last year, but that's when you can expect it. Hunter, so what really is the plan, Hackstall? Excuse me. So what really is the plan, Hackstall? With these brain dead decisions, it's becoming more and more likely that he won't even last till Thanksgiving. I mean, what exactly are the brain dead decisions? Just not playing Shane Wright? Like, outside of that, I don't. And again, are we really thinking that an 18-year-old, if he gets 12 minutes instead of 6.5 or whatever, really makes that big a difference in this game? I don't know. I don't know that we can call all the defensive lapses his fault. I don't think we can call the numerous times all through last season, all through this year, where players just they get an odd man rush going, and then it's just the Kraken way to pass that puck instead of taking the shot. And almost every time the pass does not connect. I, is that Hackstall or is that the players? I don't know. I got to assume, if I was a video coach within that organization, I'd be pointing at that and screaming every day, like, just take the shot, shoot for a rebound. You know what I mean? Like, it's just as good as a pass off the pads, right? Like there's literally a saying for it. So I don't know. I don't know how much of this is actually Hackstall, just from like what systems is he putting in, what exactly is happening, what exactly is he doing. I don't think Shane Wright, if he played more, is going to make a difference in this game against this team. I don't, not when the rest of everybody looked as poor as they did. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, feel free to like explain in the comments. I got no problem with that. I will totally engage with you. I'm not trying to like harp on everybody who's going to be harping on Hackstall. I don't know. I don't know that there is any one place we can really lay blame for when the Kraken have these games. I just don't think it's that easy, unfortunately. Michael, yet another game where the Kraken were woefully unprepared for their opponent. I don't know. Again, they were playing okay at the beginning. They had the opportunity to set the pace with those power plays. They, again, is you get that weird kind of one on the first goal against. It's a leaky goal. There's no way around that one. That's not really a preparation issue. That's just you got to get that job done. You can't allow that to happen. I don't know. I don't know that there is a, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, I don't know. Maybe I'm totally off base this year. I don't know. I just don't know that it's like a game plan issue so much as it's execution and just not getting the job done. Players not playing well, making good decisions when they're out there, making good reads on defense. I don't know. I mean, there's certainly preparation that goes into that. I just don't know, how much of that is actually being done, and then how much is on the players for not, executing when they're out there. We are just so undisciplined at points. It doesn't make sense. That's from Cameron. That I will give you. Cannot be taking penalties at the time in which they take some of these penalties. That just cannot happen. And that was brutal tonight. The penalties were totally brutal. That should be something that very much should be handled in preparation and through, just having discipline, right? Like, it's just play disciplines, especially if you're going to be down and you're struggling to generate chances offensively. The worst thing you could do is then have to go sit on a PK. So, yeah. Coop really trying to stay positive, but this was another tough one. Really liked Carolina's power kill. Wish we did something like that. I remember all the calls for that last year. We did do it a little bit last year, and it looked good. 2, why can't Jordan Eberle seem to score? And 3, Grew. Come on, man. Grew. He had moments where it was good. I felt like this was a better performance than against the Ducks. There were times where Grew made saves, right? Where he kept this team in it, particularly in the first period and early in the second period. There is just a limit to what one goaltender can do and for how long they can do it. And I think that was part of it. Jordan Eberle, he just got moved. I thought he played a way better game today than he had the previous 2 games by being up on that top line with Beniers and Burakovsky. So I think if he stays there for a little bit, we'll start seeing the goals from Eberle. I mean, again, even Maddie couldn't get on the score sheet tonight, so it was just a tough night all the way around there. And then, yeah, the power kill, we had it last year. There was, I don't know, just got to get back to it this year. you had the opportunities tonight. There was instances where they were able to get things going, right? Alexiak had that one that he walked into the offensive zone, got a shot, got an offensive zone face off. That was really solid. There was a couple other times you might have been able to push for a breakaway if you wanted to. I understand maybe not wanting to push for a breakaway in those situations. So I think that's one we're just going to have to see. Mike McBob pointing out that the Firebirds are 2-0. That is definitely true. Firebirds picking up another W tonight. That was awesome. So really happy for them. Kraken Hawk, that game was a dud. Let's face it. The most exciting part of the game was when the ice crew fixed the plexiglass in the third period. Yeah, I mean, that might have been when things were like the most tense, right? Like, oh, they're going to be able to get that one done, stand on the ladder, all that. Yeah, it was a tough one. It is. Anytime you're not generating offense, it takes you 7 minutes to get your first shot on goal. Anytime you're just going through those struggles, it's not fun. It's not the most enjoyable product to be watching from an entertainment standpoint. I will agree with you there. Lindsay, so the Hurricanes are, checks notes, really good. Yeah, they are good. I think they were good. My whole thing with them was that I didn't feel like they had the same level of depth, and that depth, and this kind of goes with St. Louis on Wednesday as well, that depth isn't as grinded out as it used to be. Both St. Louis and Carolina got more skilled, particularly on the wings. They got more, like St. Louis last year, if you were around for the playoffs, when I picked them to go to the Stanley Cup final, they had like 9 20-goal scorers on St. Louis. Like, this isn't the St. Louis team that was like, oh, we're just going to grind out every game and try to win it 1-0. That's not how they roll anymore. And that's not how the Hurricanes roll anymore either, as we saw tonight. They can put up points. They can put up goals. They are changing and evolving, and we just weren't able to keep up with them tonight. Let's see, Coop. I like Alexiak defensively, but that dude's hands are made of stone. I think that's a valid complaint so far this season. We've seen him definitely struggle when it comes to puck handling and what he's able to get done in that regard. And offensively, we haven't quite seen some of the plays he was able to make last year. But yes, otherwise, he's gotten a lot better at home these last 2 games defensively than he was on the road as well. Patrick pointing out that we did beat Carolina last year. That is true. We did beat Carolina last year. Any team can beat anybody in the NHL on any given night. It's one of the fun things about it. This is from Walt. Grubauer looked better, but the amount of penalties just killed our chances of winning that one. Carolina is just an incredible team. They're a very good team. They got, a good way of playing. They know what they're doing. Sebastian Aho is so good. So good. That top line, especially for them, like that's one of those key to trying to beat Carolina. You got to try to shut down that top line. Kraken weren't able to do that tonight. Michael, 3 of 4 games, giving up 5 goals. That's bad, even for a Kraken goalie unit. P.S. Please don't hurt me, Medeiros. I know you got to be careful talking about the goaltending around here, but yes, that is definitely something that needs to be talked about. So it's too many goals to be given up. It's just too many. Lindsay, the wheels fell off real quick there in the second. Agreed. Totally agree. I thought the Kraken did a good job late in the second and at parts in the third of, just like in that Vegas game, not giving up. They never rolled over. They played hard. They still were trying. They were trying to generate chances. They got some of their best chances the entire game late in this one. I applaud that effort. I really, really do. And I think that's the kind of thing that will be rewarded eventually. Maybe not in a game where you're this far behind, or in a game like the Vegas game where you're that far behind, but that's the kind of fight and effort that we want to see for when we're entering a third period down by 1. You know what I mean? And that's where I think you can start seeing them turn around some games. But for now, it's a little too late, unfortunately. Xkid Z made the post game live for the first time this year. Always happy to have you. Glad you could make it. Krakenok, scapegoat of the game, Eberle. You can't give the Canes back-to-back penalties when this team was down by 1. Agree with you. That's the penalties. Got to be more disciplined than that, for sure. Michael, Canes are a great team. In fact, they're my pick to go to the Stanley Cup final from the East, but man, the Kraken just folded so easy again from the beginning. I mean, they held on a little bit, but yes, there's just like this point in time where you can see a switch flip and this team just falls apart. And Can't be doing that. Can't be doing that at all. Not a great start to Operation Go. 500 at home. Yeah, it's everything. I don't know. I don't know why these two games have been so brutal. Didn't get to watch tonight. On a bright note, I got my Donskoy jersey, trying to send him good juju. That's from Cody. Hopefully it'll work next game. Try it again. Nathan, honestly, Gru didn't play terrible. That Kane's power play is lethal. Wheels fell off quick. Nice to see your webcam isn't flipped though, Dylan. Yes, that's the one benefit of doing it the new way we're doing it. I don't have to be on Discord and all that kind of stuff. So yes, the banner reads correct now. It just came at the cost of no confetti or fireworks, unfortunately. So that was the unfortunate trade-off. Patrick only saw the third, but once again felt like we can't break it into the offensive zone. Yeah, this is again something goes back to last year. Got to just get better at it. Don't they just got to work on that. Whether it's trying to enter with speed, trying to do something different, trying to get two guys going at the same time instead of letting guys stack up and be kind of stagnant at the blue line. Let the defense get set. There are ways of doing that, but gotta just work on a transition game. We're seeing how deadly transition games are. They've killed us the last two games. Kraken, it's your turn to step up and show us yours. From George, yikes, that was a rough one. However, we still have to feel better than Leafs fans, as the Leafs have now lost both to the Canadiens and the Coyotes. Yeah, how about that crazy streak? Every time the Coyotes have played in Toronto since 2002, the Coyotes have picked up at least 1 point. And everybody, we're not Vancouver. Vancouver has blown multi-goal leads in the third period, all 3 games to start this season. First team in NHL history to do that. So I will 100% hang my hat on the fact that we are doing better than the Canucks in that regard, because that is absolutely brutal. Had their first players only meeting tonight, only 3 games into the season, just saying. Shoeshine Hackstall needs to go. Shane should have had way more ice time than he's getting. The game was over. Let him play. He's not why we lost. Ridiculous. He's not why we lost. I don't know that, like I said, that he would make a difference in us potentially winning had he been out there more. But I do understand the sentiment of, second half of the third period where you're still down 4-1 or even 5-1 at that point. Get him out there a little bit more. I still like him when I see him, just like with the Ducks game. It feels like his line is able to kind of push things back the other way. You see him a lot in the offensive zone. He's not totally generating chances, but it's at least, not back hanging around Grubauer. That's an improvement considering some of the other stuff we've seen from this team this year. So it'll be interesting to see moving forward. Michael, 2 games in a row that passing was terrible, sloppy, and a big momentum killer on rushes into the O-zone. Agreed. Passing's bad. They do. They need better strategies when it comes to entering the zone, what they want to do once they're in the zone. Are you going to pressure up front? Are you going to pressure in deep? Like, what kind of is the game plan there? That is definitely something that I'll give, towards the people kind of calling out Hackstall. That is something I would give. Coop, I don't understand why you aren't worried about Grubauer. The first goal was so stinky, and the fourth wasn't great either. Was the fourth one, though, I think is the one that he had no shot at seeing, if I'm remembering right. I could be wrong. But if I'm remembering right, the fourth one, I don't think any goaltender was going to be able to see that if that was that second power play goal for Carolina. The first one was bad. The first one was definitely bad. And again, the end result is he allowed 5 goals again, just like in his first game. Just like in the Ducks game, I'll only defend kind of at the beginning, not having a lot of defensive support. After that, got to make some saves. He made more saves today than he did in his first start. That is improvement, but it's still not great. He still had a minus 1.6 goals saved above expected, according to Money Puck. I have that in front of me. So again, it's not good. I'm not like trying to praise it, but I just think that there's a lot more than just that going on. Let's see. Striatic, I turned to my cat 3 times today and said, see, Edzo agrees with me. That's basically what I was doing with Afra too. So we're all on the same page there. Mike McBog making me want to go to Jack in the Box for a strawberry milkshake. Yeah, Jack in the Box is getting their money's worth out of these ads with those two. I'm telling you. It seemed that the Canes defense just broke up every pass and shot. Couple that along Couple that along with some bad puck luck. It's no surprise the Kraken lost. That's from Kraken Hawk. Yeah, I don't like one of the things that I've noticed about the Kraken both last game and this game, the two at CPA, is when the Kraken do enter the zone, if they have any sort of numbers, maybe a 3-on-2 type situation, this, whoever's in the middle is just going to go right up the middle, and then the two players on the wing do this towards the slot, and the next thing you know, all three Kraken players are grouped up together. They're all like within the same like 5-foot circle. That happens several times tonight. And then they'll try to make a pass in there, and it makes it very easy for just one defenseman to kind of stand up in there. And their stick is now, you can disrupt any pass. You can disrupt any of the three that have the puck with just one defenseman using their stick when that happens. So I think the Kraken need to work out when they enter the zone, and especially when they have speed, because that's when this is happening, fanning guys out, getting them into different positions, have one guy drive the net hard, be there for rebounds, have one guy set up to maybe distribute to the other, have, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know exactly what the game plan is there, but there kind of needs to be a better one than just let's all clump up together and then, impede each other's progress and not be able to do anything and make it really easy for defenders to just break up passes. I think that's totally fine. The fixing of the glass got more ice time than Shane Wright. It probably. Patrick's getting sick of the forecheck, failing and not adapting. I agree with that. That needs to get adjusted at some point. I did think that maybe tonight they were playing a little more passive when it came to the forecheck, just because they didn't want to give up as many rushes going back the other way. Like, that's something they picked up from the Vegas game. But then at the same time, you just got to go. Like, you just got to go. At this rate, Shane may get a full 60 minutes of ice time this season, so that's nice. Oof, rough one from George there, but not totally wrong. Let's see. It's not me, right? From Ty. Oh, I really hope it's not, but I don't think it is. I think these are larger issues than just you being in the building for some of these. I hope, despite everything, you still had a good time there tonight, though. Shoeshine, fourth goal I have on Maddie. The rebound went right to him, and he didn't clean it up. Yeah, I mean, that one, he was trying to. He just kind of whiffed on the puck. It happens. It just happens, especially when it's down in your feet like that. It just happens. This is from Burnt Krem. Let's see. Kraken was straight up outclassed, bigger and more talented. Reason many people say Carolina is playing in the finals. Left the house saying it could be 5-zip, end of 2. Yeah, I mean, Carolina took care of business. I still feel like there was ways of the Kraken at least making this a game that they didn't really do. Like I said, don't take advantage of having those power plays early. You play passive on the forecheck. And every time you have an on-man rush, you're trying to make a pass that is defended. The passing lane's already defended. You're not actually getting it through there. There is a lot of stuff that I feel like is more so on the Kraken side of things than it is on the other teams just being good, if you all know what I mean. But no question about it. I mean, Carolina they are one of the better teams in this league, and they got to do what they wanted to do tonight. Let's see. How do we feel about Wright's ice time from Maddie? I think all of us think it should be more. I do think he should be getting more ice time. But like I said, I don't think if he gets more ice time, the result of this game has changed. I don't think he fixes any of these things. Nathan, getting outscored 10-3 in your first 2 home games is bad. If things don't improve by November 5th through 10th, that's when you can legitimately discuss canning Hackstall. I mean, I talked about this in the post-game live of the Ducks game, right? Like, if you really start off super bad through like your first 15 games, yeah, anybody would get let go with that kind of result. So we'll just have to see. I would much rather the Kraken turn things around than us get to that point, though. I very much would rather it be that the Kraken just, these were 2 tough games against 2 tough opponents, still trying to figure out the new lineup, got lots of new additions and getting them comfortable and adjusted with everything. And then the team turns it around and they're a much more competitive club, can play more at 500 level or slightly above 500. I would so rather have that than us having to fire Hackstall because the team is off to like a 3-11 start or something. You know what I mean? All the first shot / 5-minute goals going back to last year, isn't coaching part of that? That's from Striatic. Yes, in the sense that the team should be more ready to play. That's probably on that's partly on coaching, partly on the team leadership. Again, and end of day, right? These are hockey players who are professionals. They are getting paid to play this game. If you can't self-motivate yourself at some point and get yourself ready to play a game through, all the pregame warm-ups and getting out there and the pregame ceremony and everything, if you're just incapable of being able to put your foot on the gas for that opening start, I don't know what to say to that, right? Like, at some point that has to be part of it too, because that's a lot of what we're seeing, right? In both the Ducks game and the Kings game, those early goals were off direct misplays of the puck behind the Kraken's own net. Again, is that the coach's fault? I don't know. Is it, in the Vegas game, it was just 100 guys decided to all go and try to make physical body checks. That could be on the coach if he's like, hey, go out there and I want everybody to play super physical this first shift. Let's try to set a tone. Maybe that's on the coach. That's more believable to me. And then in this one, it was just like a kind of a leaky goal. I don't know what Hackstall's supposed to do for any of that. I just don't. Misplays behind your net in back-to-back games to start the season, and then a leaky goal in this one. At some point, the players just have to step up and they have to play. They have to be ready to play themselves. They have to self-motivate. I know that sounds rough, but I truly, truly believe that. Shane Wright mismanagement will get the coach and maybe a GM fired. I don't think Ron Francis is going anywhere regardless of what happens here. I would be very shocked if that happened. Cody, it's been 4 games. I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Exactly. It is only 4 games. I know these last 2 games have been really bad, and we were all conditioned last season, but it is only 4 games. I think we're all right. Cracking me up. Why are they burning the games? Wright can play in the NHL with this little amount of minutes. That's again a very good question. That's a very, very good question. I'm not going to be able to answer. None of us can know except for those within the organization. RJ's ready to join us. Really curious to hear what the post-game media availability had to say. I'm sure somebody probably asked about Shane Wright, so let's see if we get an answer from RJ here as we get him involved. All right, we are back with RJ joining us now after the post-game media availability. Real quick, RJ, had it on the comments here. We had a super chat. I wanted to give a shout out. Thank you, Nathan, for the super chat. At least RW3 has a worse record than the Kraken. Yes, it's been a heck of a post-game chat so far, RJ, as I'm sure you can
I'm
imagine.
sure.
Yeah. So, we were just talking about Shane Wright, only 6 minutes, 50 seconds. I mean, did you get anything about that in post-game media availability?
Yes, and credit to Piper Shaw, because I was going to ask about the ice time, but I was really nervous to do it, just given the mood of everything, right? But she stepped up. I guess you could say she was feeling bold and asked it right away. So I want to credit Piper for that, and directly too. And Hackstall basically said, part of it was the special teams and part of it was the flow of the game. Mm-hmm. He didn't really elaborate on exactly, but on exactly what, kind of flow of the game meant. But I think, you kind of understand maybe trying to get back in. Yeah. But he said, part of it was special teams and part of it was flow. So the special teams, I think, covers the penalties. Yeah. But I think it's something that, we certainly identified. And like when talking to each other, I sent you a text over intermission, just like, asking kind of what you thought about that and the ice time level. And that was at second intermission. At that point, he had 2 minutes and 58 seconds of ice time. Yeah. And I think I told you, like, I didn't fully blame Hackstall for that at that point because of the penalties. It was just a messed up game with all that time on special teams. And no, I don't expect him to just mid-game put him on special teams. Like, you don't do that. And we did see an uptick of ice time in the third period. A little bit. I mean, he gets to 6 minutes and 50, he gets another, 4 minutes or so, which, more than doubled the ice time amount. I think he had 3 shifts going into the third, ended up with 9. So he, kind of doubled his shifts there. So I think an attempt was made, but still at the end of the day, 7 minutes is not, and then 6 minutes the game prior is just not good for his development, you'd have to think.
Right, exactly. And it was one of those, like, a lot of people are upset about it. I was kind of trying to make the point of like, look, I don't think if Shane Wright plays more in this game, the result of this game has changed at all.
No.
I don't think that that's something that happens, but I do understand the frustration people have, and Brandon kind of commenting to that. I don't think Shane Wright getting more minutes helped the Kraken this game, but I think it helps Shane Wright. And again, that's something that I understand. I really do. Another super chat, this one from Sergeant Pickles. Thank you so much, Sergeant Pickles. Shout out to all the real fans here late after a tough loss. I feel like I'm rewatching a game from last year. My faith in Hack is wavering quickly. So that's another one. The big conversation around, is this all coaching? Is this coaching, RJ? I don't know. I'm kind of defending Hackstall a little bit. I feel like there's still elements of, like, with these slow starts, like, yes, some of that should be on the coaching staff, but some of it is, players got to learn how to self-motivate. They're professionals. This is your job. You should be ready to play when game time comes. You know what I mean?
Yes, you should. And I think, there's responsibility that kind of falls on both parties. And at the end of the day, the players do need to execute. I think the one of the turning points that Dave Hackstall pointed out in the media availability tonight was the turnover that led to that first penalty that started that cascade of 3 penalties where everything went wrong in the second period.
Yeah.
Right. And it's where you stop. He said, it's where you stop up, you have the high man making that pass, and he throws it to the middle, and it's a turnover. And then as soon as you know it, it's down our throats, like you said, and you're forced to take a penalty. And it's those kind of plays where, the coaching staff, they're not telling them to turn that puck over at the blue line there. It's not something that's in the game plan, it's execution. So things like that, I think at a certain point you do have to point to the players, but at this point, I think there's plenty of blame to go around.
Yeah, I do too. It's on everybody. There's plays like that. There's the constant passing when you're on odd man rushes, when it doesn't, even if the passing lane has a defender in it, they just decide, I have to do this for whatever reason. That one's really getting frustrating for me. And then the other one that I talked about is even when it wasn't like necessarily a total odd man rush, or maybe it's a 3-on-2 type of situation all game long, RJ, I don't know what their idea was, but the guy in the middle goes up the middle, and then the 2 on the wing go like this, and they all converge together in like a 5-foot circle right in the middle, and they just make it so easy to defend them. Like, I don't understand the thought process there. I don't know if that's because the coaching staff hasn't done a good enough job of instilling, like, hey, in these situations, you go here, you go there, let's try to stretch out the defense, or if it's just, the players are just kind of winging it and they're not, gelling yet. They don't have the chemistry yet to know where everyone's going to be. But it's frustrating when, the game is still winnable, and then you're seeing plays like that happen, and it's been like back-to-back games of that now. It's really frustrating.
And the few times where they have done a good job of separating when entering the zone, like in the first period, I believe, I remember there was a good pass all the way across from Andre Burakovsky to Will Borgen, who was jumping into the rush on a 3-on-2, generated a good chance. But it shows like they're capable of doing that. And there have been a few moments in this game and the last game where, they have done a good job of spreading out, because now they have guys who are capable of making those long cross ice passes and using that space. They're just not using it enough.
Yeah, exactly. So lots of comments here. I'll just kind of float through and grab some that stick out. Yeah, some more comments like this one from Wood 1444 about how, Shane Wright's development is more important than winning right now. So obviously kind of would rather have him get the minutes than not. Hunter, I agree with you, Dylan, but someone has to take the blame. Defense making the same horrid decisions, inconsistent goaltending, etc. Yes, that is true. That is part of the coach's responsibility, whether coaches like it or not. But it's one of those buck stops here type situations of at some point the results kind of have to land on one person, and they're the person more times than not. Daryl, Susie, and Dunn are just careless defensively. Even Gord seems careless with his passing. There's definite issues with some guys getting started on the back end, RJ.
Yeah, for sure, and that's something that kind of the players highlighted as well is getting the pucks like out of their own and getting that transition going. I think that was something that Hackstall mentioned even yesterday, where he's like it's getting out of our own zone, getting through the neutral zone, and getting the entries. Like we have to start there. It's a very basic thing, and they're still just struggling in that regard. Not many clean breakouts of their own zone, and when that happens, not a lot of clean plays to the neutral zone, and gotta help them when you get to the entries.
I know. Entries. Oh man, we talked about that too. It's unbelievable. Q South, you think Dunn's a potential trade piece later this year? I don't know. I'll let you drink, RJ, but I think he'd probably have to play better. To be honest, I don't think the way he's playing right now that. Well, of course, we said the same thing about Lauzon last year. Ron Francis was able to get something good done, so maybe.
Well, it's possible. I mean, he's an RFA at the end of the year. I think we've talked about this, Dylan, kind of just before recording a couple podcasts ago, but we came to the conclusion like they're going to have to make a decision on him by this off season of do you want to extend him long term or do you want to move him? It's just a decision they have to make one way or the other, I think. And if the decision is move him, then the trade deadline is a possible time to do that. I think off season would be more likely if they choose that path, but since he's an RFA, there's no need to hurry.
Exactly. Alex kind of pointing out, I'm just going to kind of paraphrase a little bit, but just the idea that, a lot of the problems that have been there this season were problems last year too. Like, they're just, the power play might be improved, but you still got the issues defensively. You still got the problems with the starts. The response goals came back tonight, RJ. Aren't we so happy to see those again? So again, that is another point of like, at some point, you can change, you can make some changes to the roster, but it still feels like that the overall feeling and just vibe of this team is just off.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it's tough. The response goals, especially like that one was brutal today, where you finally claw some momentum back and then immediately it's gone. And on a penalty, which was kind of the name of the game tonight. We've just seen so many of these things over the last couple of games that remind us of last year. And I know everyone that sat through those games last year and remembers all of that. It's bringing back some really ugly memories.
It really is. Thoughts on Edzo's point on the last power play of the game? Why would Dunn not move up to get a better shot? That was one of those moments. I don't know what's going on your end there, RJ. Just some noise. That's one where I was saying the same thing while it was happening. I kicked this off, RJ, talk about how much I love having Edzo on the broadcast. He's doing a really, really good job. But yes, Vince Dunn totally needs to step up. Be a passing option for Maddie there. He could have gotten into a nice, dangerous scoring place on the ice and given Maddie an outlet to pass. Maddie was getting quickly boxed into a corner there. He was in too tough of an angle to shoot. He couldn't get rid of it that way. All the other passing lanes were clogged up. That's where you take advantage of the fact of, hey, we've got an extra man on the ice. But if Vince Dunn's going to be playing, basically out of the offensive zone there, you might as well just be playing 4-on-4, and that totally plays into the defense in that situation. So I was happy Edzo brought that up. Like I said, happy with all of the stuff he was bringing up today. I thought he absolutely nailed it when he was breaking things down.
Right, and I haven't watched the broadcast the last two games, obviously, being here, but I've seen people kind of tweet out different things that Edzo has said over the last couple games, and a lot of it just seems really on point. I mean, he was on it as far as, feeding the Golden Knights transition. This was after the first period of that game, too. They're giving him too many odd man rushes, need to work on that, and then you see it explode in the second period. I really have liked his insights.
Yes. Agreed. Shoeshine here. Only complaint about Edzo on the broadcast is his voice and Forsland's voice are so similar. Can't always tell who's talking, but that's not a big deal. I've run into the same thing where all of a sudden then the one will say a name and I thought it was the other the whole time. I was like, oh, okay. So that is something. Just kind of an interesting thing. All right, Sergeant Pickles got studs here. You ready, RJ?
Yep, let's go.
We got Brian being in the house. That was awesome. See Brian there for the game. And Brian getting on the video board, doing some sort of game. I think went 3 for 3. That's what I was hearing.
Yeah, it was the jersey number math, and he went 3 for 3. Perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah, Brian clutch there.
So shout out to longtime viewer Brian. Also studs. We got Gruby minus 5 to 20. P1 Gruby minus 1. Period 1 Gruby minutes 5 through 20. Got you there. Yeah, Gruby was solid. I mean, I talked about this earlier. RJ didn't make saves that they needed in Anaheim. Made some saves tonight to keep them in it.
Yeah, after that first goal, he did all he could to keep that game within reach for as long as he could. Mm-hmm. I mean, he looked very sharp. He bounced back really well. At a certain point, the rest of the team has to take over and give him something. But yeah, no, I thought he had a fine game. It's just one of those where, again, we point to what's in front of him.
And then third stud, Berkey breaking the shutout. Yes, happy to see Burakovsky get another goal there. That was just a sweet play all the way around.
It really was. A 4-game point streak for him. I mean, talk about, difference maker and getting those points. This is the kind of stepping up that he talked about, when he signed here as a free agent.
Yeah. Duds Hackstall, basically. Sergeant Pickles. It's a lot. I think it's just in some ways I just want to say like the whole team. Like, I don't know. I don't want to call out effort because they have effort. They skate like they're not like not skating hard. They're throwing their body around, but it's like I don't know. It's just like their effort never seems to equal results. I don't get it.
Yeah, or it's not enough, people clicking at the same time. I want to throw one more stud in there, and I think it's Brandon Tanev. Because he was doing his thing in this game, especially early on.
What was it? The Yanni Gord line tonight? Super solid. That line was awesome.
Well, and it's because they finally, I think, they moved Everly off that line, which I just think helped settle everything else there. And who was the third winger on that?
McCann.
That's right. It was McCann, Gord, and then Tanev. Yep. And then I think for the third period, they moved Strong into that spot, just trying to generate a little bit more offense. And I think it actually worked for a few shifts. But yeah, no, it's some definite improvement from that line.
Yeah, that was really, really solid. Let's see. Both enlightening and embarrassing to have Edzo point out all the plays and moves they don't make. Yeah, I can see that. Any lineup / starting goalie predictions for the Blues on Wednesday? That's from Lindsay. I don't know. I would probably run it back with Grubauer personally.
I would too. I would start Grubauer because I thought he played fine in this game, and you want him to start being able to get into a rhythm. As far as the lineup, I don't know. After 2 losses like this, you might see some more juggling. That's kind of too early to guess. I mean, stay tuned, with tomorrow's practice and then morning skate on Thursday.
Yeah, I don't know that we'll see Geeky in the lineup unless they feel like they need his size. I think that's one that might get swapped out.
Yeah, and I felt bad for him because he had that one. I think it was a breakaway or close to it, late there, and just he hasn't been able to put those in. Dating back to last season, where if you just get 1 or 2 of those, you can earn some more games in the lineup and maybe break through.
Yeah, Lindsay as well. If Freddie doesn't make that crazy toe save on that Yanni shot and it goes in, totally flips the script of the game. Yeah, I mean there was a lot of opportunity earlier on. I thought, those 2 power plays, like they did have 2 power plays in the first period. I forgot about them halfway through the second period, but that was there. They had the opportunity to set the tone.
They did, and they got some good close chances. I mean, that Yanni Gord one might have been their best of the game that didn't score. He's right in the right spot, collected the rebound, great save by Anderson, but and then that Yanni chance late in the period too, where he kind of skied it over the net. I wasn't sure if that hit anything. But if one of those goes in, it can be a very different game.
Yeah, Shoeshine. The guys at the point will pinch when they shouldn't, and they don't pinch when they should. I feel that though a little bit. Like there's definitely times you feel like they should be applying more pressure than they do. I get that. it's Bowie's fault. Oh, it's not fair.
What?
It's
Nah.
not fair. Let's see. Let's see. It's not about Shane's ice time changing the result of the game. It's about letting him develop and become the player we drafted him to be. 4 minutes a night isn't going to help him become who we need him to be. Certainly long term, it won't be. But yeah, it's just a tough situation right now, especially in games like tonight.
Mm-hmm. It is, and I do sympathize with Hackstall in that, with the penalties and everything, given how much, he doubled his ice time over the third period. It's not a ton, but if you take that 4 minutes from the third period and, put that over 3 periods, like normally, you'd have 12 minutes. And I don't think we'd be really complaining about that very much.
Right. Yeah, and it's understandable. Some more optimism down here lower in chat. Seeing some good things. People, Gary, just even though we lost a few games, at least we still have hockey. Totally agree with that one. Also some more talk about needing to be just more disciplined. Again, that was a problem tonight, given those power plays were just brutal and
Yep.
really killed things. Gary reminding everybody to like the stream for us. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you. Everyone like the stream.
Really appreciate that here on the ECH Postgame Live, presented by Queen Anne Beer Hall. Also, check out the merch link in the description below.
There we go. Get the sponsor, the merch, and like the stream all in one. Love it.
Yep. Promoting the Patreon earlier too as well. We need a dog Skoy appearance to cheer us up from Sergeant Pickles. Afra, come here. She's laying She's laying on her bed under my desk here. Come here, just for a second.
Could you tell on the broadcast? Did they show it that Davy Jones was in the building tonight?
No, I didn't see.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, poor Davy Jones had to see that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Here she
but
is.
There she is.
Here we go, Afra. There you go. Say hi.
This is what everyone needs.
I know. This is what we need on the therapy sessions. Hold on.
What other post game do you get this? Like this is what all the post game shows need. It's just dogs after losses.
A dog dragged out of a bed to sit on a lap. If Carolina defensemen smash Shane on board and take puck, he's not ready for the NHL. That's from Sergio. Yeah, I mean, he did get manhandled a little bit in this one. Like, it was like, oh yeah, he's only 18, and this is a man's league. There was a couple moments like that.
And I think that is fair to point out. And I was going to kind of mention that if it was brought up as far as his actual play rather than the ice time, I do think he needs to just get stronger because all these plays along the boards, I think manhandled is a good word. He's just getting beat physically. And that's, he's 18. That's something that comes with age, that comes with putting on weight. It's what you'd expect out of an 18-year-old. That's why there aren't a lot of them that play in the NHL. But that is something that I think, you have to contend with and something that I honestly, I think Hackstall does think about at certain points of the game.
Agreed. And it's one of those, like, I mean, yes, obviously going to add more weight as he just gets used to being a pro, as his body finishes developing. I mean, just human bodies are not fully developed at 18. That's just not how they work, right? But I think part of it is also he could play lower. He could lower his center of gravity, and that would help a lot. He's playing up and down a lot, especially when he goes into physical situations. I know exactly the play Sergio is talking about here, and that was exactly a play where Shane Wright was caught standing up, and the Carolina player was able just to get lower and utilize, that's when you can activate your, all the thigh muscles and everything these hockey players have, right? When you can get low, get that leverage and just outmuscle somebody. So that's also just a little bit of technique that Shane Wright's going to pick up as he, furthers his career, as he gets, more and more minutes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not worried about it at this point, but that's the kind of thing that you learn with reps, at that level.
Yeah, exactly. This is from Striatic. Idea for not letting in as many early game goals. Play chill out music instead of amp up music before puck drop. Won't help on the road, but could help at home. Yeah, I mean, if we're not going to be ready to play at puck drop, maybe we just try to make the other team not ready to play either.
There we go. Worth a try at this point. Yeah, and I will say the timing of the goals, as much as you look at Grubauer through a couple periods, or through basically until that second goal, and you think he's playing great, and overall he is. The timing does matter. The early goal and the fashion in which it goes in. Unfortunately, I think it does make a difference.
Yeah, agreed. Q Stealth, I just don't understand the messaging around Shane. It's so mysterious. props to you for calling out stealth, mystery and messaging when you got stealth in your name. I'll give you that.
That's pretty funny.
But yes, I mean, it's they said there was a plan. We'll see what that plan ends up being. I think it's early on in any plan for the moment.
Yeah, I think tonight you really got the working out that no plan survives that first punch to the face. No plan survives contact with the enemy. All the famous quotes about plans. I think you kind of hit that tonight with the penalties.
Yeah. A lot of talk kind of sprinkled out throughout here about just how do you improve this blue line, right? The blue line has struggled this year. Susie struggled, Alexiak struggled, Vince Dunn has struggled, maybe not all at the same time or in every game, but we've, definitely been sure to notice that those guys have struggled at times. How do you improve the blue line? Like, I don't know that this team is going to, go to and try to be a buyers. It's kind of too early to make a move like that. Free agent class, someone pointed out in the comments, not looking like totally great upcoming on the blue line. I don't know how you improve this blue line other than just maybe with time, letting your own prospects develop. At some point, Riker Evans will be ready. You know what I mean? Then you work him into the lineup, stuff like that. But that's one of those things that there is just no easy fix.
It's true. And I think most teams, what they're able to do is kind of bring in guys slowly from their system to kind of integrate into the blue line. And that's where you get reinforcements from. I think we're seeing a lot of the best teams, have homegrown guys that are really their mainstays on the blue line. And unfortunately, that's just not an option the Kraken have right now. It does take time. And Riker Evans is probably the closest guy there. There isn't a whole lot behind him immediately. Ty Nelson's probably a few years away. It's tough because you have to go and otherwise just go get another blue liner via trade or free agency. And a lot of the best, really steady guys, teams just aren't willing to let go. I mean, we saw Buffalo just sign. What's his name? Samuelson. I had not heard of him before that day. To a 7-year deal at over $4 million per. I mean, this is how much guys like that are valued in this league. It's very rare that teams will just let someone go easily, and so it presents that kind of challenge.
I was going to say, if it was easy to fix a blue line, everybody would do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. It's just, there is no easy answer. It's certainly not just on a post-game live. We're not going to be able to figure that one out. George, I blame undisciplined play and terrible puck movement on this one more than Hackstall. I do miss the days where we could all rally around the Kraken scapegoat Lauzon.
I do have a little bit of nostalgia for that, to be honest. It feels like the blame is just being spread around everyone. It's no fun.
Exactly. When's our first game against Nashville? Let's all rally for that one.
Yes.
A couple of people have pointed this out. It's harder to defend Hackstall when every time we see him, he's just there standing with his hands in his pockets doing, insert do something meme. So people pointing out, he doesn't, like, his facial expression basically doesn't change at all throughout a game. So
it's the kind of thing that works and looks really cool and good if you're winning, but kind of backfires if you're losing. And it doesn't have an impact on, on the game or how everything goes. But I do understand the sentiment there.
Yeah. X-Kid Z is able to join us for first post-game live so far this season, and was wondering how the fans were at Climate Pledge. Is there a deflated vibe carrying over from the Mariners elimination? Has the novelty of the new team worn off, or is the energy still there even in the losses?
I think the energy is there in moments. I would certainly describe the deflated vibe, kind of after the Hurricanes broke it open, because it was the kind of game where you have just within a couple minutes span, you're like, oh yeah, no, we are losing this one. And at that point, I think the deflated vibe really took over. But the crowd, again, there's still that energy there. They want to have something to get excited about. There was a stoppage in play where they had to go fix the stanchion off in the corner here where I am. I don't know if they showed that on the broadcast. But during that stoppage, they had the Wayne's World Bohemian Rhapsody thing going. They put that up on the Twins, and that's about it. Like, it got really loud, like almost the loudest I heard it get tonight. Second after the goal, because the Kraken were down, but people wanted something to get excited about, and hey, why not take this stoppage to just jam out to this song and get really pumped? So I love that about the fans here and the crowd. In a lot of games, hear it kind of die off. But if you give them something, they will get very loud, get into it.
For it. Yeah. Maddie pointing out Susie's a UFA at the end of the season, so probably a better trade piece than Dunn. As we get closer to the deadline, that does make more sense. When we get there, we'll obviously see where the team's at and everything. Let's see. Vibes just feel a little lackluster when we're down. Need to figure out how to generate some energy. That's from Patrick. I mean, the team, I did, point this out before you joined, RJ. Again, I felt like in this one, team didn't give up. We saw them continue to push. We saw them to continue to have effort, whether it was always like, maybe at times it was somewhat misplaced in what they were trying to do with that effort, but it's something that I feel like if they could just be in these games a little bit more, if you're entering the third period down by 1, that's the kind of stuff that I feel like is different about this team, and they can pull out some wins in situations that they weren't able to last year. But when you're going into the third period down by 3 or down by 4, it's just too much.
It is. And like, I feel like these third periods are usually improvements, but they're just kind of wasted, given what the score is. And this is a team that is now talented enough to be able to overcome a small deficit if they can just get themselves there. It's really about just not taking yourself completely out of a game by the time the third period arrives. And I think that's something, going back to the last question, that'll also help the crowd get behind you and create that energy in the building. I know that's something the players feed off of. You just got to get it to a point where it's close enough. And it's just still something to work on.
Yeah, exactly. So more stuff about Hackstall, a lot of stuff we've already covered, and then the Shane Wright stuff. Got another super chat coming in from Q Stealth. Shane's situation is weird, but Thornton famously played under 10 minutes of ice in most games year 1, steadily improved, hit 100 points year 6. Support him. Agreed. This is not, 4 games in, him having been scratched, him getting a little bit of ice time. It is only 4 games into season 1 for a very, very young player.
Yeah, exactly. And we'd certainly take that kind of outcome for him. All day you take that. But not every player just hits the league in stride and starts playing big minutes right away. And yes, like Matty Beniers did great from the start, but he's, was almost a whole year further in his development, and maybe even more than that, with COVID and everything, than Shane Wright is. So it's something that does, is worth bearing in mind.
Yeah, exactly. And thanks again for the super chat there. This one from Ayers. Greetings tonight from Georgia. I assume the overall goal for this season for the Kraken is player development and team chemistry. Also, what would be a type of player that could improve team defense? So I think from like the blue line, like we were kind of just talking about, not an easy fix there. I guess if we were to target someone just because you already have like guys like Riker Evans, Ty Nelson in the pipeline, I'd try to go find another kind of, Adam Larson type guy, maybe someone that, might not be the most analytical darling. And so, a team might have him more attainable, but the bottom line is he's going to be really solid. It's not going to be giving up massive chances each and every night. Is he going to be like the most spectacular guy out there? No, but you at least know you can count on him.
That was going to be my answer. A minute munching defensive defenseman, basically another Adam Larson to put out there. And it was kind of fresh in my mind because you look at the Carolina Hurricanes blue line from the game tonight, and they've got a trio of guys who are, that like archetype of player where you have like a Brady Shea, a Brett Pesce, a Jacob Slavin, who's, one of the best in the game to do that. Now, none of those guys are going to be available, of course, like teams don't let those guys go. Yeah. But, it shows how important and how powerful it is when you have defensemen like that, especially more than one, who can just munch minutes and keep things steady on the blue line.
Yeah, so we'll just do 1 or 2 more questions here as we get to the hour mark. This one from Bert. Those moments are why we need someone like Hayden. If the boys aren't willing to hit back when Shane is getting pushed around while he learns, it'll keep happening, and it'll be the tactic with Maddie. So I guess that is something to watch if Shane starts getting more playing time, as teams then start, going after him, trying to exploit the fact that they're playing a young guy, someone that they can kind of push around. I think Maddie adding the 15 pounds, when I was in Anaheim and we got to, do the media availability with him, I was standing like 2 feet away from him. He is significantly bigger than last year. Like that 15 pounds was 15 pounds of solid muscle. I think Matty could probably handle himself these days, but I understand where Bert's coming from. Like, do you think that maybe the Kraken need a little bit more grit right now to just try to help with some of these games?
Maybe. I mean, I think it's the kind of thing like with Shane Wright that just it's not going to be a factor until he starts playing more minutes. And then you want to have someone who can answer the bell. I think you still do have like a Brandon Tanev who, would do that given the situation. I think you do have like a Will Borgen. I don't know that it's, that it's something that's totally lacking like it was at the end of last season where it was just kind of cleared out. You didn't have many guys who could do that sort of thing. But maybe that's the approach if you want to add that to the fourth line. You look at the wingers that they've been on the fourth line. I haven't, been super impressed by Donato, Kuhlman, Geeky recently on the wing. I mean, maybe that's a chance to give him, to give Hayden a run. I don't know. But some kind of energy. Yeah, maybe that's what they need.
Yeah, I don't know. I think against Vegas and Carolina, it wouldn't necessarily have helped, right? They're going to try to beat you with speed going back the other way. But, maybe against a team like the Blues, maybe, I don't know. I'm not really looking forward to this Colorado game upcoming.
Not Colorado. Don't do it for the Colorado game.
That one's going to be rough. But I think you're going to have to just play out October before you really start looking at what overall bigger picture things need to be changed. I think we should end on this idea that Lindsay has, RJ, and that's
okay.
Put Shane on the blue line. Haha, JK, unless he's defensively responsible, RJ.
Yeah, you know what? I suppose he is defensively responsible. It's a little bit of outside the box thinking. But I don't know if we're ready for that quite yet.
Yeah, that one, that would be interesting. Could you imagine? What would all of Philadelphia and Montreal be saying?
Yeah, that would break the internet, I think.
Yeah, and New Jersey would probably get involved in that as well, I think.
Yeah, like, oh no, we should have drafted him anyway.
Yeah. All right. So I think we're gonna call it there for this post game live. It was another tough game, another tough therapy session, but you know what? We are finishing it with a laugh and with smiles, and that's all we could ever hope for, and that's why these are so great. So it was a good one. Looking forward to Wednesday. Next game with against the Blues should be good. Just thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks to Queen Anne Beer Hall for sponsoring these this season, and we'll see you all next time. Go check out the deep dive if you haven't already yet. I'm sure it's interesting after this game too.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
All right. See you, everybody.
See ya.